Thank you.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Good afternoon and welcome to the County of Haliburton's Land Division Committee. My name is Liz Danielson, Chair of the committee, and I'd like to introduce you to the other members of the committee. Tammy McKelvey, Councillor at Large for Minden Hills, Pat Kennedy, Public Member for Dysart et al., Bob Snyder, Public Member representing Highlands East, and Bill Donald, Public Member representing Algonquin Highlands. We are joined by our planner, Adam Kozlowski, and our Land Division Secretary Treasurer, Alana Lacey. This meeting is held through remote electronic participation in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The purpose of the hearing is to give each applicant or their authorized agent the opportunity to discuss their application with the committee and to respond to written submissions which may have been received. It's also an opportunity for committee members to broaden their understanding of each application by asking questions. Members of the public who are participating virtually today may also make oral submissions to the committee, whether in support or opposition to the application. We hear the applications in the same order as they were received in our office. Our planner will introduce each application and provide planning briefs. Then participants who have registered to address the committee will be admitted virtually to speak to the committee. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee. With that, we'll now proceed with the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented? Members Kennedy and Donald, thank you.
Be it resolved that the April 15th, 2024 Land Division Committee agenda be hereby approved.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of March the 11th? Moved by Member Snyder, seconded by Member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held March 11th, 2024 be approved as printed and circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. So we'll move right into the applications for consent. And the first being Mitchell and King for a bell easement in Highlands East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, committee. I'm going to share screen and walk committee briefly through the application. The application before committee today is H05223, and it is for a new bell easement in Highlands East at 1247 Quartz Lane. I'll show committee a reference plan. So the bell easement will basically piggyback the existing hydro infrastructure that's on this property. There is a cottage under construction just to the south of this easement, and no difference on the ground, no change to anything on the ground. It's the existing hydro corridor is there, and the bell easement will basically piggyback that infrastructure. Highlands East had no concerns, and staff recommend approval subject to the conditions in this staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the committee members? Member Snyder?
Thank you. Adam, were there, I'm just not sure where the property owner is on this. Are they in favor, against, fine with? Because I believe this is will be buried across their property.
Yeah, the property owners are the ones granting to Bell, and Sue Harrison, I believe, is here in attendance as well. If Sue has any more detail to provide.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Harrison.
Good afternoon. Sorry, there was a little technical glitch there. Yes, the property owners are the applicants, so they are definitely in favor. They don't have any concerns with the application at all.
Any other questions from the committee for either Adam or Sue? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to grant provisional approval to the application? Member Kennedy, second by Member Donald.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to consent H-05223 Mitchell King, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of consent H-05223 Mitchell King, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey? Member Snyder?
Yay.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes,
Thank you.
that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you.
The next is an application by Grillis and Gallagher for some lot additions and rights of way on Conto Lake Road in Highlands East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll share screen with committee and walk committee through this somewhat complex application. And can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. So I'll just we'll maybe start here at around 10,000 feet up, just looking down to orient committee to this application. So the subject lands that are going to be granting the lot additions are owned by Bill Grills, and this property is at 2018 Conto Lake Road. And there are 3 benefiting lots to the lot additions. So H009 is for Gallagher, H10 is for Ballock, and H11 is for Devari. And then the fourth property kind of at the end of the line here is at 1013 Ideal Drive, which is owned by Mr. David Lohman. The lot addition does not affect Mr. Lohman, but a right-of-way does. So I'm going to just kind of delve into the sketch here just to walk committee again through what's going to happen. So the Gallagher lot is the first property. So what's going to happen is this rectangle piece will be conveyed from Grills to Gallagher, so that the Gallagher shoreline lot will extend north to the boundary of Conto Lake Road. The second part of that application is this black dotted line here is an existing laneway that kind of traverses all of these lands here that'll be conveyed. And currently Ballock uses both Ideal Drive and Edith Crescent to get out to Conto Lake Road. So what the Gallagher lot addition will do is also grant Ballock right of way over the Gallagher property to get out to Conto Lake Road. These properties all have an existing right of way here that's shown as this 66-foot notation. So none of the rights of way are required over this part. It's just the north portions of these lot additions and over this existing laneway where where these landowners are currently using it for access. So that's H009. So there's 2 components, lot addition and right of way to benefit Ballock. Second application is H10. And again, it'll be a rectangular parcel in gray here, and it'll be conveyed from Grills to Ballock. And then Ballock is going to grant right of way to Devari, because the Devari driveway comes up here and then it crosses over a little portion of the lands that will be owned by Ballock. Ballock is also going to grant right of way to Lohman. The Lohman driveway comes up and then it partially goes over that parcel that'll be owned by Ballock. So hopefully I haven't lost anyone yet. And now if I keep moving down the line, Davari will get this larger parcel here. And Davari will then grant right-of-way to Balak, because Balak is going to cross over a small part of the Davari lands. And Davari will also grant right-of-way to Lohman, because Lohman will pass over this small portion of lands that will be conveyed to Davari. So no right or no lot addition affecting Lohman. However, Lohman is going to benefit from rights-of-way over 2 parcels here. And again, from the site photos, all of these access driveways and laneways are existing. And this application, once the survey is done, will identify all the necessary parts, and then the lawyers will prepare the deeds with all of the appropriate rights of way. The way the conditions are set up is that the lot additions will occur first, and then once the lot additions have been executed and merged, the second step will be that a right-of-way is granted over the new description of those lands that are going to be merged with the shoreline parcels from the Grills property. No existing changes to any of the entrances onto Contour Lake Road. They'll all be used as they have been historically. Highlands East has endorsed these applications. There are a number of conditions that are required that are more technical in nature, and county staff recommend approval, subject to the conditions that are listed in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one.
If you wouldn't mind leaving the sketch up, Adam.
Sure.
I guess the only question that I had, it's a little bit complicated, is why Davari gets such a large addition to his lot and Lohman, why Lohman didn't. Was that a choice, or?
Madam Chair, through you and to the committee, I believe we do have Mr. Grills and Mr. Balak here who might be able to give more background as to why Mr. Lohman did not wish to participate. My understanding is that Mr. Lohman didn't have any interest in acquiring additional land, but we're just going to do the right of way to make sure everybody has uninterrupted access.
Okay. Are there questions from other members of the committee? Member Snyder.
Thank you. Adam, just you mentioned that the lot additions will be done first. Is the condition such that if one of the lot additions does not proceed, none of them proceed?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, good question. The way it's set up right now is that if one of those lot additions, or if one of them had difficulties, or there was some technical or legal issue, it might not affect the right of way. We might have to come back to committee to change the conditions. But I'm hoping that once the lawyers look at everything, and that the conditions are worded in a way that they're cumulative, like they have to be done in order, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But if there are any hiccups to this, we will we'll sort it out one way or the other if we have to come back to committee.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, just sort of a follow-up comment. I'd hate to see the Gallagher lot addition go forward and the other piece of property be left as sort of an orphan, which then the question would become, does it become a separate lot? Which I don't think this is the intent of the application.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, the way the conditions are worded is, I just took a look at them. The lot additions must occur. And if any of these lot additions do not occur, you're correct. They're all going to fail, because you're right. We don't want to create an orphan parcel floating out there. So the conditions require that these parcels all must merge.
Any other questions for Adam? Okay, I gather that Mr. Grills and Shane Bala are both present. If not, in fact, as well, Mr. Lohman.
Member McKelvey has a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. I'm just wondering where the 1 foot reserve is going to be. The Highlands East condition is a 0.3 meter reserve, which I believe then stops anybody from using the Contour Lake Road. as a direct access. Is that my understanding that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is partially the intent. So the 1 square foot reserve, or the 1 foot reserve, is basically going to start right here. This little arrow is a little bit blocked by the call out box, but this existing 66-foot right of way, which is the Edith Crescent intersection, the 1 foot reserve will start right here, and it will extend along to the boundary, the outside edge of the Loman property on Contour Lake Road. Now, when I talked to Highlands East staff, the ideal drive entrance, it's historic. Whether, the legal status of it is unknown. But the reason for this 1 foot reserve is so that no additional driveways can be punched out onto Contour Lake Road. It's the intent of this condition is so that only existing accesses are used in future.
Any other questions? Does that clarify that for you, Member McKelvey?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, I see we have Mr. Grills and Mr. Bala here. If either, Mr. Grills, if you've got anything you'd like to add. And you are on mute.
Unmute. How's that now?
That's good.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Adam did a very good job, I believe, in explaining it. Committee asked some very good questions, which Adam covered. This is going to set a lot of things right as they exist in the field. So I'm here to fully support this.
Okay, Mr. Bala, any further comments?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak to the committee. Again, I believe Adam did a very good job explaining the situation as it lies. I will say that it was identified by Mr. Grills that there was inconsistencies in the property back in and around 2022 November. Subsequent to meeting Bill, was unaware, and as were the rest of the neighbors, of some of the challenges with the current existing property outline. And so as Adam has described, what the neighbors did was we identified, working with Bill, what would make sense with respect to rectifying and remedying in a legal conformance the challenges that are currently shown there, as you see in the diagram. So as indicated there, there were a number of inconsistencies that, I'll say the traveled roads had evolved over time, resulting in outside boundaries outside of the right of way, including Ideal Drive itself. Team worked, I'll say, for the three affected parties that wanted to participate between Gallagher, Bala, and Davari, to work on a remedy that would ensure that all parties maintained, the 66-foot right of way, including the Loman property, who did not want to participate in the additional lot line adjustment. That was a decision, on their part, and the solution to that was that Davari would effectively purchase the other portion of it, so as not to result in a backlot severance, as the committee already identified as a concern. So as stated, that is, the intent of the application. It really is around remedying and putting back into legal conformance the miscongruities that have been identified, maintaining the right-of-way accesses and developing the new right-of-way accesses to ensure that all parties can continue to benefit from the existing the existing traveled roads as they may be. And that was one of the stipulations as outlined in the municipality. Also outlined from the municipality was, again, that this was to be done in accordance such that a backlot severance did not occur. So as stated there, the intent is to proceed with all three lot adjustments so that they result in the respective parties taking their effective lot lines and not creating a back severance of Mr. Grill's property, as it be said. This is the most equitable remedy to the situation that is currently in place, and would resolve a number of the non-conformances as Bill identified. And Again, I think as stated, that, effectively for all the affected properties, they do remain in their current configurations. There's no physical changes or any changes to the property alteration, the existing traveled laneways and or roadways. So the intent here is simply the lot adjustments and effects of the right-of-way accesses to remedy those challenges. So in closing, I definitely be greatly appreciated to move forward with this, and I support the applications that all three parties have put forward. And a comment.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee for either Mr. Grills or Mr. Bala? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to grant provisional approval to all three of the requests? Moved by member Snyder, seconded by member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to applications for consent H-00924 Grills Gallagher, H-01024 Grills Bala, and H-01124 Grills Davari. And that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-00924 Grills Gallagher, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. And that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-01024 Grills Bala, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. And that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-01124 Grills Davari, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey?
Yes.
And Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. That's carried. And thank you, Messrs. Grills and Bella, for attending the meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next application is by Gilchrist to create a new residential lot on Harvey Avenue in Dorset.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll walk committee briefly through the application and share screen. Subject application H-01224 is for Gilchrist, and the subject lands have two 911 addresses. It's 1014 and 1022 Harvey Avenue in Dorset. And what this application will do is it's going to, well, let me just see if this comes up.
It takes a minute for it to come up. You said there it goes.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to show committee briefly, this is the severance sketch, but I just want to show committee briefly that this property used to be two lots. Has that come up for everybody, or am I a little bit ahead? Okay. So the property with the commercial studio on it used to be this kind of very small square piece, and then the balance of the lands in behind was in this configuration. And at some point, the lands have merged. And what we've got here is an issue with basically a residential and a commercial use on lands that have some zoning issues as well that have to be updated, but I'll get to that in a moment. Just try to find. So the severance sketch, as shown, will basically separate the two uses on the subject land. So the existing dwelling that's up at the top of the hill will be severed from the commercial property, which interestingly right now has an industrial zoning. So the conditions of consent that are included will basically rezone this property, the retained lot, to Hamlet residential. And then the commercial property, which has an industrial zoning, will be rezoned back to the appropriate commercial zone. So there's no additional development proposed. Both lots are developed already. And Both are serviced, so there's really no change on site, just the fact that there will now be a lot line separating the two, and it'll become a new lot, new severed, new retained. We did receive comments from MTO. It was, they didn't have any objections. They were just more concerned about the severance sketch that may have included some of the highway right away. And that was resolved. I did send the severance sketch from the surveyor to the ministry, and they had no concerns. One letter of concern was sent to committee from a Paul Balfour. And Mr. Balfour's concerns were largely based on the zoning of the property. Melissa Markham, who is the consulting planner, is here today, who might be able to provide a bit more insight into that. County staff have no objection to the proposal. Algonquin Highlands has endorsed the application subject to conditions, and I would be happy to answer any questions committee may have. Thank you.
Any question for our planner at this point? Member Snyder.
Thank you. Adam, is the municipality recognizing an entrance off of Harvey Avenue for the, I'll call it the commercial property? Because I assume they can't get one off the Kings Highway.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So there is an existing driveway. It's listed as parking area. It's right to the, it's to the west of the art studio. But you're correct. The ministry will not issue any entrances off 35.
Right. So the municipality is going to recognize that parking area as an entrance because it's very close to a corner. That's why I ask.
Yeah, and so this, when I sent the second survey sketch to the ministry, they did see this sketch and they did not bring up any concerns with that existing parking area or entrance. So if they didn't flag it as a concern, then we don't have any concerns.
Okay.
So if we want to bring in Ms. Markham. Good afternoon, Melissa. You've heard the presentation by Adam. Is there any information that you would like to add?
Yes, so good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Melissa Markham Planning, 1025 Rebecca Lane, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H2J6. Once again, I'm here on behalf of the owners of the property, 1014 and 1022 Harvey Avenue. I'm just going to give a little bit more information, and I think that this is going to help with regards to the comments that have been submitted by a resident. So the application does propose to create a new lot, which will have the effect of dividing the existing single detached dwelling from the existing commercial establishment. Subject lands have an area approximately 1.85 hectares and approximately 256 feet of road frontage along Harvey Avenue in Algonquin Highlands. And this is where the two entrances are currently existing off of Harvey Avenue. The application is proposing to sever a 0.74 acre parcel containing the commercial development and retaining a 1.11 acre parcel with the existing dwelling. As Adam provided, the property was previously two separate lots on Harvey Avenue, but it's recognized as one lot. It does have two separate roll numbers and separate municipal addresses already. The lands, as I mentioned, are developed with a two-story dwelling, a two-story building containing an artisan studio, which is the Love Pottery. There's also two sheds on the property. So both of these lots have their own septic and wells. The proposed severance, like I said, would just separate the existing uses. Access is off of Harvey Avenue, and they both have an existing entrance. No change to this is proposed through the application, and no development is proposed through the application other than the creation of the new property. I believe that the staff report is an accurate representation of the application as submitted. The lands are within a settlement area in Dorset, and the official plan provides development to be located in these areas, and it does permit residential and commercial uses within these settlement areas. In regards to the comments from the Township of Algonquin Highlands zoning bylaw, as Adam mentioned, the small square on the property that was shown is currently zoned M19, and this is an industrial use on the subject properties. C24 does encompass the remainder of the property, and that is for commercial. The subject lands are subject to a zoning bylaw amendment application in order to recognize the existing uses. Once again, no change to the existing uses are being proposed. The residential, which is the detached dwelling, will be rezoned to a hamlet residential and the severed to a commercial. So the hamlet residential will recognize residential uses, and the C2 commercial zone is traditional commercial uses. So the artisan studio is included within permitted uses in that area. Surrounding uses are also hamlet residential, commercial. Both the retained and severed lands comply with the minimum lot area and frontage requirements of the zoning bylaw. So no relief is required for lot frontage or lot area. These both comply with the municipal zoning bylaw. As Adam provided, the Township of Algonquin Highlands provided conditions that the retained and severed lands be rezoned. Once again, the lot area and frontage comply, and the severance line shown on the plan does take into consideration the setbacks from the existing buildings. So the rezoning is essentially to recognize the existing uses on the property, as there is no industrial component, and this would recognize the existing uses. Staff at the county and the township have both provided no concerns with regards to consistency or conformity with their official plans. We are also aware of the comments that were received from MTO and Paul Balfour. His were dated April 12th, 2024. So MTO, I believe their comments have been resolved through Adam's correspondence with them. With regards to Mr. Balfour, I did speak with him on Friday to provide an overview of the application, to give him some insight in terms of the processing of the application and in terms of the applications that are being submitted. So once again, following that conversation, there was a letter that was submitted by him with regards to the zoning component of the application. So in the planning justification report and the application to both the county and the Township of Algonquin Highlands, it has been identified that a zoning bylaw amendment is required in order for any conditions of a consent application to be cleared. So there was no intent through this process to not recognize that a zoning bylaw amendment application wasn't required. And the planning justification report that was actually attached to your staff agenda does include the fact that it is a consent and zoning bylaw amendment that is being requested through this application. A pre-consultation meeting was held with myself, with the Township of Algonquin Highlands, and with the county staff to go over the application, and that is why the application has been submitted in the way that it has here today. With provisional approval, hopefully today by the committee, there will be a zoning bylaw amendment application that is submitted to the Township of Algonquin Highlands to deal specifically with the uses being recognized on the property, and the zoning amendment application is a requirement as set out by the Township of Algonquin Highlands in their conditions. So in addition, as I mentioned, the components of the zoning bylaw amendment have also been addressed. No concerns have been raised by either the township or the county with regards to the uses. As I mentioned, consistency with the provincial policy statement, conformity with both the county and the township official plan, identify that residential and commercial uses are permitted in this area. And the policies have also been addressed once again through the planning justification report submitted with the application. I'm happy to answer any questions of the committee regarding the application or the process that we've gone through to this point. Once again, any questions, happy to answer them. Thank you.
So Mr. Balfour is satisfied with the explanation that there will be a zoning amendment made.
Are you asking if he's satisfied, or? Sorry,
yes.
Were you asking me? He had submitted his comments of concern following my conversation with him. So he does know that there's a follow-up zoning amendment application that would be required, but no, his concerns were the process of the application, and his understanding was that a zoning amendment should have gone forward prior to the consent application coming to the committee here today.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge why the original small parcel was actually zoned industrial? Because I don't think there's ever been an industrial use there.
I can provide, Madam Chair, that industrial zone was a general industrial zone, and it was restricted to that for a building for the storage of boats and marine equipment and supplies, including the storage of propane. I'm not aware of the last time that may have been used for that use, but that was the specific site-specific exception was that use, essentially for storage.
Questions from the committee members? Okay, thank you, Ms. Markham. Could I then have a mover and a seconder to grant provisional approval for the application? Members Kennedy and Donald.
Thank you very much.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-01224 Gilchrist, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of consent H-01224, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes,
Thank you.
that's carried. Thank you. The next application is for a lot addition by Nairn in Dysart et al.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll walk committee briefly through the application. Application H-01324 is for Nairn, and benefiting lands are owned by Fletcher. And what this application will do is see the conveyance of a 3-acre lot from a large rural parcel and being added to a 2.34 acre rural residential property that's got an existing dwelling. I trust everybody can see the sketch.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Pat has me all worried now about this wonky internet. So the subject lands, again, it is a large rural parcel, and what it will do is the benefiting lands here on Eagle Lake Road have this triangle shape, and on a sketch I'll show you in a moment, there's going to be a triangular shaped parcel conveyed to basically square off the residential lot on Eagle Lake Road. And we'll go to that sketch now. So as you can see, these the benefiting lot, residential lot on Eagle Lake Road will be basically squared off, and there's no change to the frontage on either property because the point at the road is not affecting the frontage at all. There's an existing driveway that comes into this rural property, and it goes back through the wooded area back into here. So it's not going to be conveyed as part of this lot addition. And so, oh, there's my button. So Dysart has endorsed the application, and county staff have no concerns subject to the conditions that are in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That seems fairly straightforward. Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, I gather there's no one to speak to the application. So could I have a mover and a seconder then to grant provisional approval? Members Snyder and Donald.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-01324 Nairn, and that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent date H-01324, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Member Snyder.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
Chair Danielson.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's carried. And finally, an application for a bell easement on the Dimensions Health Algonquin Highlands Incorporation, which is on Canopy Lane in Algonquin Highlands.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, I'll share screen, walk committee through the application. So application H01424 is for Dimensions Health, Algonquin Highlands, Inc. And the subject lands are at 1218 Canopy Lane on the north shore of Maple Lake. And this is an application to allow for Bell infrastructure to utilize an existing hydro corridor. There are some site photos that were submitted in the application and in the staff report. So really nothing on the ground is changing here. It's just Bell is going to utilize existing hydro infrastructure. And Algonquin Highlands has endorsed the report. County staff have no objections, subject to the conditions in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Adam? Member McKelvey?
Thinking of concern with this, but we seem to see a lot more of these bell easements. Is that normal, or is there something that's causing this? Or
through you, Madam Chair, I think really it's just a matter of cottage country being opened up to more urban level of telecom. So we're seeing bell easements more and more and more because that service is being extended into areas that it hasn't been historically. So I expect to see more of these coming forward, because every time that the bell infrastructure gets extended, it's going to get extended further at some point. So
any other questions on the application? I understand that there is an agent, Ron Nightingale, here who may wish to speak to the application.
Hi there. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nightingale.
Good afternoon.
You've heard the planner's report. Is there anything you wish to add?
No, I just attended in case there were any other questions.
Any questions for Mr. Nightingale? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to grant provisional approval for the application? Member Kennedy, second by Member Snyder.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to consent H-01424, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of consent H-01424, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey?
yes,
Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's carried. Thank you. I think that takes care of the applications. I think under other business.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nightingale. You'll see the result of the OLT's decision on Aubrey's appeal to our decision. Any questions or comments about that? I really appreciated you sending us the link for that hearing. It was interesting to listen to. I had not had an opportunity to listen to an appeal to the OLT before, so that was it was interesting. So there's no action or a resolution required. That's just for our information.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, to the rest of the committee. So that basically the OLT has dismissed the appeal, and that's the file is basically closed.
Are there any comments that the committee would like to make?
Adam, it's Bill here. Do you think the decision might have been different had the tribunal not permitted the document book? It was one day late, I believe, but they ended up accepting it.
Well, from my recollection, I'd have to look at it again, but I think when I talked to John Ewart after the hearing, we did a debrief, and I don't think the book was late. I think you know what, to be honest, I don't remember
Well, the appeal decision did include a comment that that the book actually included information that had been previously made available to everyone. There was no new information, so I rather doubt that would have changed the decision.
Yeah, and I do remember the chair basically considered that on the spot and overruled it, so to speak, saying that it even if it was late, I don't have a lot of knowledge of that administrative rule, how it works, but yeah, at the end of the day, the chair said that there's no new information here, so it's not prejudicing anything.
I think basically the rules are that the background material that each party is relying on has to be exchanged 10 days prior to the hearing date.
Yeah.
But
And
anyway, it was
9 days.
a positive decision.
Right on, so we'll receive that for information. Our next meeting is scheduled for May the 13th. Are all the committee members available on that date?
I'll be traveling back from Hilton Head that day, but if I can find a Ramada or a Starbucks, I'll join the meeting, and if not, I'll let Alana know prior to it.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And speaking of Alana, this is Alana's last meeting with the Land Division. She's going to be moving on to greener pastures, I'm sure. We really appreciate the work you've done with us, and you know, are sorry to see you go, but wish you all the best. I'm sure that Adam is probably, his hair is curlier than normal because he's just about left on his own for a little bit of time. But we have great faith in you, Adam, so we're glad you're here. So all the best of luck to you, Alana.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure working with you.
You too. Thank you.
And finally, could I have a motion to adjourn? Member Kennedy, Member Donald.
Be it resolved that the April 15th, 2024 Land Division Committee meeting be hereby adjourned at 1:49 p.m.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks.
Thanks,
See everybody.
everybody.
Good afternoon, all.